Rent is due in 3 days. You have $340 in checking and a paycheck that lands in 5. You are 24 years old. You eat the same lunch every day because you know its exact price down to the cent. You don't check your balance in the morning anymore. You already know it's bad. You take a shift nobody wants because the extra $80 matters more than the sleep. You lie to your friends about why you're skipping dinner out. Not lying, exactly. Managing. That's the word you use. Then 1 month, for the first time, you don't touch your savings. You just don't need to. It's $600. It feels like nothing. It feels like everything. The first rule of wealth. The first dollar you don't spend is heavier than every dollar you've spent so far. 2 years later, the debt is gone. Not all of it. The student loan is still there, quiet in the background, but the credit card balance, the payday loan, the thing that used to wake you up at 3 a.m., it's gone. You have $4,000 in a savings account that isn't attached to an emergency. You don't tell anyone the number. You just know it's there. You start reading about index funds on your lunch break instead of scrolling. You put $200 a month into something you don't fully understand yet, and that not understanding used to terrify you. Now it just feels like homework. You get a raise. $3,000 more a year. You don't upgrade your apartment. You upgrade your contribution. Nobody claps for this decision. Nobody sees it. You feel it anyway. The second rule: wealth doesn't announce itself the first time it changes you. It changes you quietly, and you only notice months later that you stopped panicking at the gas pump. You're 31 now. Your retirement account has a number in it you would have laughed at 5 years ago. $61,000. You bought a car in cash, used sensible, but cash. And the salesman looked at you differently than he looked at the guy financing the truck next to you. You didn't say anything. You didn't need to. You start negotiating your salary instead of accepting the first offer. You get turned down once. You ask again anyway. This time it works. An extra $9,000 a year, backdated. You put half of it toward the house you're saving for and don't touch the rest for 6 months. Just to prove to yourself you can sit on money without spending it. You have a conversation with your partner about a prenup. It's uncomfortable. You have it anyway, because you've learned that protecting what you built isn't the same as distrusting the person you built it with. The third rule. At this level, wealth stops being about the number and starts being about the choices you're now allowed to make slowly instead of urgently. You're 40. You own the house. Not own in the technical sense. You actually own it. The letter came. You read it twice. Your investment accounts cross $400,000 and you stop checking them daily. Checking daily used to feel like control. Now it just feels like anxiety wearing a spreadsheet. You max out your retirement contributions for the first time. It costs you nothing you'll remember missing. You start a separate account for your kid, not because you have to, but because you remember what it felt like not to have one. A friend asks to borrow $5,000. You have it. You think about it for 2 days anyway, not because of the money, because of what lending changes in a friendship. You lend it. You don't ask when. You've learned that at this level, the real cost was never the number. The fourth rule: money stops being a scoreboard and starts being a set of quiet decisions nobody else will ever see you make. You're 52. Your net worth crosses 7 figures, not from one big win, from 28 years of not panicking. You own a second property, a small one, that you rent out at a loss most years because the appreciation is the actual plan. Your accountant knows things about your life your closest friends don't. You start giving. Not performatively, no plaques, no galas. A standing donation to the community center where you learn to swim. You don't mention it. Someone finds out anyway and thanks you, and it's the most uncomfortable conversation you've had all year. You realize you haven't thought about your salary in months. You think about allocation instead. Bonds, equities, the mortgage rate you refinanced at, the tax bracket you're now trying to manage rather than escape. The fifth rule: real wealth is the moment you stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Does this deserve my money?" You're 66. You retire on your terms, on a date you chose, not one a company chose for you. Your portfolio throws off more in dividends most years than your first salary ever paid you. You set up a trust. You sit across from a lawyer and say words like beneficiary and estate about your own children, and it's the strangest sentence you've ever said out loud. You fly economy sometimes out of habit, not necessity. You could fly differently. You just don't always want to. That, too, is a kind of wealth, the wealth of a want that isn't urgent anymore. You watch your kid graduate debt-free because of a fund you built when they were 2 years old and money was tighter than it is now. You don't mention what it cost you at the time. They don't need to carry that. The sixth rule: at this level, wealth is measured in what your children never had to worry about, not in what you accumulated. You're 84. The house is paid off, has been for 3 decades. The accounts are large enough that the numbers stopped meaning much to you personally years ago. They mean something to the people who will inherit them, and that distinction changed everything about how you think of the money. You're not saving for yourself anymore. You haven't been for a long time. You sit with a lawyer one more time, updating the will, and you realize the conversation isn't about you at all. It's about a version of your family that will exist after you don't. You sign the papers slowly. Not because you're afraid, because you want to mean it. Somewhere in a small apartment, in a city you used to live in, someone is 24 years old. Rent is due in 3 days. They have $340 in checking. They check their balance and it's bad, and they already knew that. They take the extra shift. They eat the same lunch. They think this is just what money is. They don't know yet what the first dollar they don't spend will feel like. But they will find out.